You keep going back, not because you are weak, but because a part of you is still hoping the past will finally choose you. You tell yourself it is just physical, just comfort, just familiar, but deep down you feel it. Every time you leave, something in you feels smaller. She gets access, you lose peace. She moves on emotionally, you stay paused. This is not love. This is attachment disguised as connection. And the hardest truth is this: the longer you stay available, the longer you delay the life you are meant to step into. What happens next will decide whether you repeat the cycle or finally break free. Comment your location where you are watching from and subscribe to the channel. When you continue sleeping with your ex, what you are really doing is agreeing to a relationship with no structure and no future. Psychologically, this places you in the weakest possible position. You are offering intimacy without commitment, presence without direction, and access without boundaries. From a female psychology standpoint, this dynamic subtly shifts control. She no longer has to choose you. You have already chosen her repeatedly without requiring clarity in return. And once choice disappears, so does leverage. Attraction is deeply connected to perceived value, and value is shaped by scarcity and standards. When you remain available after the relationship has ended, you unintentionally communicate that your time, energy, and body are negotiable. Even if she enjoys being with you, the subconscious message is clear. You are willing to accept less than what you want just to stay connected. Over time, that erodes respect, not because she is cruel, but because human psychology responds to boundaries more than emotional pleas. There is also a comfort trap at play. Familiarity feels safe, especially after emotional loss. Sleeping with an ex can feel like relief from loneliness, a reminder of who you used to be together. But comfort is not the same as connection. Philosophically, growth requires discomfort. When you stay in what is familiar, you delay becoming who you are meant to be. She may be moving forward emotionally, even while still physically involved with you. You, however, remain anchored to an old version of yourself. This is where power imbalance becomes dangerous. She holds the ability to define the terms, while you hope the situation will eventually turn into something more. Hope without structure is not strategy, it is self-betrayal. The more you accept undefined access, the more you teach yourself that your needs come second. And once that internal message is set, it bleeds into every other area of your life, from confidence to decision making. From a psychological lens, women often test emotional strength unconsciously, not with words, but with scenarios. Sleeping with an ex is one of those tests. It reveals whether you can walk away from short-term pleasure in favor of long-term self-respect. When you fail that test repeatedly, the dynamic shifts further out of alignment. Desire fades not because of lack of attraction, but because stability without direction feels hollow. The truth is uncomfortable but simple. As long as you stay, nothing changes. The moment you remove access, the dynamic is forced to confront reality. Either a new structure emerges, or you reclaim your power and move forward. And that decision, more than anything you could say, defines how others perceive your value. What you tolerate teaches people how to treat you, and what you walk away from determines who you become. What keeps people tied to their ex is not desire. It is familiarity. The nervous system remembers the routine, the voice, the touch, the version of life that once felt predictable. Psychologically, the brain prefers what it already knows, even when that thing no longer serves us. Sleeping with your ex activates that loop. It gives you the illusion of connection without requiring emotional presence or growth. And illusions are comfortable, but they are also stagnant. Attraction does not grow in stagnation. From a female psychology perspective, desire is often sparked by movement, by evolution, by the sense that someone is becoming more than they were yesterday. When you stay physically connected to someone from your past, you signal that you are still anchored there. Nothing about that creates tension or intrigue. There is no mystery, no uncertainty, no sense of something new unfolding. What once felt exciting slowly becomes predictable, and predictability without progression dulls attraction. There is also a subtle emotional consequence many people miss. When you continue sleeping with an ex, you keep rehearsing an old identity. You show up as the same version of yourself that existed when the relationship failed. Philosophically, this is important. You cannot step into a new chapter while repeatedly rereading the last page. Growth requires separation. Distance creates perspective, and perspective is what allows attraction to be reborn, whether with someone new or even, in rare cases, with the same person under new conditions. For women especially, attraction is tied to emotional momentum. A man who is moving forward, building, refining himself, and creating space in his life naturally becomes more compelling. Familiar access removes that momentum. When she knows you are always available, there is nothing to anticipate. Desire thrives in the space between interactions, not in constant access. Absence, when grounded in self-respect, is not a manipulation. It is a natural byproduct of having a life that is full. Comfort can feel like love, but they are not the same thing. Comfort asks nothing of you. Love, or at least healthy attraction, demands presence, intention, and direction. When you settle for comfort, you trade short-term relief for long-term dissatisfaction. You might avoid loneliness tonight, but you reinforce it tomorrow. And over time, that pattern teaches you to associate connection with emotional stagnation. The hardest realization is this: familiarity feels safe because it protects you from uncertainty. But uncertainty is where transformation lives. When you let go of what is familiar, you create room for desire, respect, and genuine connection to return to your life. Not because you chased it, but because you finally made space for it. If you want attraction to grow, you have to stop feeding what keeps it asleep. Walking away is often misunderstood as rejection or punishment, but psychologically, it is neither. It is a declaration of self-respect. When you stop sleeping with your ex, you are not trying to provoke a reaction. You are restoring order within yourself. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are structures that protect your time, your energy, and your identity. And from a female psychology perspective, boundaries are far more compelling than constant availability. There is a deep psychological shift that happens the moment you remove access. The dynamic is forced to change. As long as you remain present without structure, there is no reason for her to reevaluate anything. But when access disappears, reality sets in. Absence introduces contrast. It highlights what was taken for granted. This is not about manipulation. It is about consequence. Human beings often recognize value most clearly when it is no longer freely available. Philosophically, this is where integrity enters the conversation. Integrity is alignment between what you say you want and how you behave. If you want clarity, commitment, or peace, but continue engaging in a situation that offers none of those, the conflict is internal before it is relational. Walking away resolves that conflict. You stop negotiating with yourself, and that internal alignment is felt externally. Confidence is not loud, it is consistent. Women are highly perceptive to emotional strength, not dominance, not control, but steadiness. When you choose distance over temporary comfort, you demonstrate emotional regulation. You show that you are capable of tolerating discomfort without collapsing into old patterns. That quality is rare, and it is attractive not because it seeks approval, but because it does not need it. Even if she never returns, you have already won something more important. You have reclaimed your center. There is also a crucial identity shift that occurs. When you stop sleeping with your ex, you stop reinforcing the version of yourself that accepted less. You create space for a new narrative to form, one where you are not defined by who you lost, but by what you chose to protect. That shift changes how you show up in every interaction. You speak differently, you listen differently, you move with intention rather than hope. Many people fear that walking away will close the door forever. In reality, it clarifies whether a door ever truly existed. If something real is meant to be rebuilt, it will require a new foundation, not recycled intimacy. And if it is not, then distance becomes the doorway to something healthier. Either outcome serves you. The real power is not in whether she comes back. It is in knowing that you will no longer abandon yourself just to keep someone close. When you choose self-respect over familiarity, you do not lose connection. You redefine it, and that choice is where everything begins.